today we are here to speak about SaaS environment in an hybrid cloud or 100% cloud. So I don't know exactly your level, and just to have everyone with us for this presentation, I'm going to have a context slide to share about what we have in the cloud to build hybrid cloud, or what you have in your data center to start. So here we go. Cloud computing. So cloud computing is a word that we need to describe the first thing. So we are a public service provider, CSP. We are Scaleway, and we are like IBM Cloud, DigitalOcean, OVH Cloud, AWS, Azure, and GCP also. So we provide resources in the cloud, and more to have the same context, I'm going to share this common slide to explain on-premise, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. That is the topic of today. So when you are on-premise, is when you host your server in your own data center. So when you have your own data center and you build all your application in your data center, you are on-premise. You can compare this one also with when you have colocation. So it can be in your data center, in your own data center, or it can be in a colocation place. So it means that you can use, for example, Equinix data center, or you can use our data center, because in Scaleway we have Scaleway Datacenter, and we have several data centers in France for so many companies. So that's one of the brands that we have. And after that is IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So let's go on the right. SaaS is when you provide the software. So you can use on-premise to build your SaaS platform, but you have to create your all stacks on your side, so from the networking to the application. And you can use also IaaS and PaaS. So IaaS is application is when you use server from a provider, a CSP. So it can be server, dedicated server instance, for example, and you can use also PaaS, so platform as a service. It means that you don't have to manage operating system and middleware in the middle. It depends exactly of the product. So to explain that, you can see here with all different brands and different products, which kind of product you can find in different columns. So on-premise, there is Scaleway Datacenter with the colocation. There is Scaleway Dedibox also. In this brand, we have a dedicated rack as a service. So you can rent a rack or half a rack, etc. In the IaaS, you can find the instances, of course, with GP and dev instances or GPU. Bare metal also, Kubernetes, and more than 30 products here. And in Scaleway Dedibox, the 15 years experience brand with dedicated servers, we provide dedicated server, high-end data servers, and private networks and SAN storage also. And in the platform, in the PaaS, so platform as a service, we provide serverless, registry, IoT hub, which is in public beta today. And we have also more old application or legacy platform under Dedibox to provide web hosting or Plesk for web agencies, for example. And software as a service is used, so the SaaS is on the right. And the last slide about the context is here, is about cloud computing environment. So just to keep that in mind, when we speak about public cloud, the public cloud is when you use a CSP. So it can be Scaleway Elements, it can be GCP or another provider. And on the opposite side, private cloud is on-premise data center that you change to be a cloud. So you can use, for example, VMware or Proxmox in your own data center to build a private cloud, for example, or Hyper-V. And that's, for many people, a part of the story of their company. So they started to build a private cloud from their own data center and then move step by step to the public cloud to build something that we speak every day now, because it's really something very important regarding the different blackouts that we had on different cloud providers, to build an hybrid cloud. So it means that you can use several public clouds and you can use private cloud also to build something very available for all your customers. So now, with this context, build your SaaS environment. Today, we are here to speak about SaaS. And if we speak SaaS, we are very close to customers. So I'm going to remind everybody that, yeah, first of all, we have to speak about the value propositions. So there is a business model, of course. If you build your SaaS platform, you want to sell a software as a service in the cloud to someone. Okay, so you need to have a value proposition, otherwise you won't get new customers in your business. So keep that in mind, because if you look this canvas, you can remind everyone, remind to everyone that we have, of course, partners, providers on the left. Of course, there is cost on this side, and on the right you have your customers, and on these customers you have revenue streams, of course, to build your company. So from that, there is another thing. So if you build your new SaaS platform, sorry, you need to keep in mind that you are going to invest first and then get more revenue. So as all products, there is R&D and there is different steps. So the first one, if you look the diagram on the right, there is a pilot phase, and in this one is really the first step to build the MVP of your platform, and then you are going to stabilize this platform before going to the growth, the real growth, and the scaling phase. The scaling phase is when you move to the maturity phase. If you look the product diagram that we discussed here. So on the two first phases, you are going to invest, and then you are going to move to the profit. So that's something that we need to keep in mind to explain that. So first, you build and you define an MVP, so the minimum that you need to provide to your customer as a first step. Then you need to create a proof of concept, maybe to get more money from your bank or your investors to build your SaaS platform. And maybe to get feedback from your customers also. So collect feedbacks from your customers is really the next step. And then you are going to build, learn, and adjust. So it's something that we have in agile organization, but you need to build something. So build something as a minimum for the first step, then learn from the feedback of your customers and adjust, and keep it simple. Yeah, if you are in the cloud, your customers want something very simple and very direct, straightforward. So why cloud? So here, if you look the first goals, the cloud is really something important to build your SaaS, because you stay agile, you can automate with several tools, and we are here to help you to scale. So the cloud is really something very useful for this kind of business. Then, so if you look the common services that you need for your SaaS platform. So if you look this first diagram, you can compare different SaaS platforms. We have common services. So common services for the product and your customers, and common services for internal usage. So for product and for your customers, you are going to provide authentication, of course, billing, order, I hope so, management, and onboarding and offboarding process. This is something that I'm going to describe just after. For internal services, you need to provide to the support team the good tools to do their jobs. Accounting department, you need maybe to provide a different document to build to work correctly in your company. And operation team, you need maybe to provide different tools as monitoring or something like that. And to the marketing team, you need maybe to provide different tools to send campaign, for example, etc. So all this list is common with other services, with other SaaS platforms. So don't think always to start from a blank page, but maybe you can start with something from a framework, maybe from another SaaS platform, because if you need to provide a ticket system for support team, maybe you can use another SaaS platform to interconnect this SaaS platform to your new SaaS platform. And on the right, if you look this diagram, okay, so you have the different services, common services around the application services and storage and databases. And in the application and services, you can modify and organize your application with different design. So this one here is tenant isolation. So it means that for the first customer, you are going to use service A and storage A dedicated to him. And for the second one, so the tenant 2, you are going to use service B and storage B. So you have a tenant isolation for his environment, for example. Then, as I said, there is the onboarding process. For me, and from my experience, I work with for different companies, SaaS companies, and the onboarding process is something really in the middle. So if you keep in mind that you have the customer is on your site and is going to be on board in your platform, think about all steps to provide the service, to provide the main service that you need to deploy for him. So define this process and think about environment provisioning, because maybe you need to have this kind of design that we discussed on the previous slide with a tenant isolation. Maybe you need to organize that differently. So we are going to speak about that in several minutes. And you need to activate maybe all features or not, because maybe you are going to create different for your customers. And you need maybe to populate data, because when you're going to provide the new environment, you need to copy several data as a first iteration, or maybe to provide just samples for the first connection. You need maybe to generate external actions. As I said, maybe you have SaaS support, SaaS ticket systems, and you need maybe to create a connection and associate your account to this platform, for example, and many actions to design your platform. So here, think API for all, and keep in mind offboarding process. I remember several stories about the offboarding process that we were not perfect. And after the onboarding, okay, we are good. But if you offboard a big customer because he stopped his contract, you need to offboard all data and destroy maybe this data and decrease the size of your environment. It will be great regarding the bill at the end of the month. So offboarding is something that you need to keep in mind also after the onboarding process, of course. So if you build your platform, and you need to stay agile, as I said on the first slide. So to do that, you are not alone. So please always define really your team. The team members are not only technical guys. You need to think about other teams also to be involved in your project. You need to work as a modern architect to stay agile and not doing something too big as a first step, and share with your colleagues. If you are in SaaS business, maybe you are installed in shared offices. Maybe you work with colleagues or with other people that they are in technology as you, and you need to get this feedback. Don't be scared about sharing your experience or your product. You are going to get more feedbacks and improve your products every day. And define technologies. So here it's more technical also, but you need to define which license do we use, open source, which performance do we need, which scalability we need maybe for the service in the SaaS. And then you're going to maybe select the programming language, the kind of database you need to use, or framework, and use external SaaS or sources. As I said before, sources maybe for open source or open data, for example, or maybe sources because your product is associated to other product, or you provide a kind of marketplace in your SaaS platform to be connected with other products, for example. So define what is the technologies regarding, as I said, the business, because maybe if you use, for example, SQL Server from Microsoft, or you use other products with license, it means that your revenue won't be the same if you compare with open source, for example, or maybe with different employees that you need to hire in your company to manage all of that. Then, create short release cycles. It's something that you can see on the icon on the right, which is something for DevOps and CI/CD process. You need to improve your product every day. If you have a feedback from your customer, don't wait several months to provide this new feature. If it's really something simple, if your environment is optimized to do a short release cycles, you can provide something every day, every week, maybe every hour. And build agnostic design. On the market, if you look, for example, AWS or other companies that they build their own technologies, after you can't reverse your environment. So if you use a technology that you need to redevelop for migration, or maybe just to avoid an issue with when there is a network outage, you need really to have this design and this and use standards, because if you use S3, you know that S3 is available on Scaleway and on AWS and GCP, and you can reverse and migrate and maybe use this different cloud also to build something hybrid. And create several environments. I know so many companies that they have only production environment, and if they create something new, they push that to production directly without a staging phase, for example, and after you have the impact and to your customers with a bad image. And if you have an issue when your customer want to use your platform, and it's now they need, when you have a SaaS platform, you want to use 24/7 this platform. So if it's down during several minutes, it can be so bad for your image, and maybe your customer is going to move to another provider. That's all. So as rules, and maybe to resume this several slides before, there is no really rules, but keep in mind the agility The cost efficiency regarding the technology, skills that you need to hire in your company, accessibility, because if you develop something not accessible from a mobile, for example, it could be really an issue for your business. The simplicity, yeah, for me it's really important. Something simple is always something good for your customer. And repeatability, so you need to keep something repeatable. So for example, the onboarding process is really something that you need to repeat. I hope so, because otherwise you have only one customer. And you need to involve innovation in your product. So you should keep something agile also to add innovation in your design. And the last one, keep in mind the zero downtime. So if you build something from a provider, let's say Scaleway, do all our best to provide stable platforms. Maybe you need to have another provider or maybe another availability zone to provide something reliable regarding outage that we could have. So yeah, from that, I'm going to review and share with you all products that we provide now in Scaleway world. So as maybe you know, in Scaleway we have three main lines. So the first one is Scaleway Elements for the public cloud, and in Scaleway Elements we build this line with five elements. So we regroup compute, storage, network, IoT, and AI in different group, in different elements. And we had one more, which is tools, which is something to connect all of that and to manage all of that. So it means API, CLI, Terraform, Cloud Init, SDK, multi-user, etc., etc. And if we look the three main elements, which is compute, storage, and network. In the compute, you are going to find instance for virtual machines for development, general purpose, and GPU ranges. We have bare metal with different ranges also for dedicated resources. We have Kubernetes, so Capsule, which is the internal name for this product for containers, and container registry, and new products in beta with serverless also. In storage, we have object, block storage, a cold storage also. All of that object and cold storage are S3 standards. Database in PostgreSQL and database MySQL. And in network, we have load balancer to do multi-cloud, because you can balance between your own IPs and other IPs from different providers, and of course, or IP, public IPs. We have domains, DNS cloud that we have to manage your DNS, and new products that we are going to launch this year. That's an overview of our products, and of course, here it's just a page to resume, but you have all these details on our website. We have a product page for each of them with more details, different use case, a lot of documentation. If we did the webinar, for example, we shared the YouTube link to see and to watch this webinar. Yeah, that's all products available here in the cloud, public cloud line, which is Scaleway Elements. And in the second one, so yeah, let's go and zoom in after. Here you can see a Scaleway Dedibox, which is the which is the dedicated server place. It means that we created that 15 years ago. Maybe several people here know this this product, the Dedibox, the famous Dedibox that we provide with a lot of references. And here you can find different ranges. So Start, Pro, Core, Store, dedicated server. We provide Dedibox, so a rack to host, to collocate your own servers with SAN, Dedibackup, and other product, as you maybe know, domains, web hosting, and the network with private network and IP failover available to build your own environment. And tools also with console, API, and monitoring. If you compare between the Scaleway Elements and Scaleway Dedibox, for us, Scaleway Dedibox is the I don't want to say legacy because several people say legacy, but for me, is really the Dedibox. So the Dedibox is dedicated server that you pay per month, and there is a lot of references to build your own platform. But if you want to build something in the cloud with all bricks that you need to build a cloud platform, looks on Scaleway Elements. Otherwise, you won't get all products that you have maybe in mind when you want to start building something in the cloud. So here is the Dedibox, and we are going to launch new references by the end of this year to renew a bit our references. So if we speak about a migration, because the topic of today was more about how to build a SaaS environment, but how to migrate an environment. If you have an environment in production that you build with several stories, maybe from your own data center, maybe from another provider, maybe you want to migrate to Scaleway or to another cloud provider, you are going to think about different things before starting migration. So first thing is here. So migrating your SaaS is, do you want to do something as a revamp, just to change the image and just to change very small things? Do you want to redesign completely the platform, or do you want to do more? So there is a balance, and there is not only one way to do this migration. So here is more some advice to define the plan to migrate. So I'm not going to explain exactly what you need to do for your migration, but I may give you more tools, maybe more feedback to start thinking about the migration. And I'm going to share a blog post normally this week or maybe next week about this topic with more details about how to migrate, with more examples to understand how to do it. So here in the balance, there is, of course, competitive pressure, because, of course, there is other competitors, and they provide maybe a new product, and they build something from a blank page, but you on your side, you have something built from for several years, and you need maybe to change completely the platform. So there is maybe new technologies to implement, innovation or agility. And on the other side, there is, of course, high time to market to move on the balance and estimate if is it the best way or not. Secondly, as in the first phase of this presentation, you need to build a team. And if there is a migration, I think there is more people to involve in your project, because you need to do something with your team. You need to be together and not alone. So maybe engineering team, development team, operation team, but also sales team, marketing team, and customer services, of course. They are in the middle of the migration because they are going to speak directly with customers if there is an issue. And on the other side, and because we are here, there is Scaleway. So we are here with the cloud solution architect. We are here to discuss with you and to help you during your different estimation or design that you are going to do by Slack or by email, or as with all tools that we have available to discuss with our community and with our customers. So don't hesitate. And there is programs for startups that we launched last week with a lot of tools to help and to develop a startup in the SaaS. So last thing about more the generality and an overview on this migration is the fish model. So this is something from technology as a service. It's a model, a fish model. And if you look, there is two lines, and there is the revenue and there is the cost. And after it's a timeline. So, and in the middle, you are going to have a transformation time, from transformation phase. And during this transformation, you are going to invest to start the migration. It's a kind of R&D, and maybe you have two platforms at the same time, or maybe more. And the revenue, of course, regarding the fact that you remove cost during this period, you are going to have a phase which is not really good for your business. It could be less than this one, which is only a model, but this phase can be for several years. Otherwise, it will be difficult for your company to carry on working. So here is about you need to invest for the migration, and keep in mind there is always a ROI for each actions regarding your business. So now there is different patterns and strategies to follow for migration. So the first thing that I want to share, and there is a blog post available, I think from yesterday, is about single tenant and multi-tenant environment. So as you saw in the first slides, you can build something with a single tenant. So single tenant is when you deploy an environment dedicated to a tenant, to a customer, to a company. That's something very good if you want to have an isolation, but it can be too much. It can be too much regarding the usage of several customers, for example. And the second one is multi-tenant. So multi-tenant is when you share the same platform with several customers. So if someone build on the server platform, is going to build something on the same platform. So he's on the multi-tenant environment. But when you build really a big SaaS platform, which is really something that many companies use regarding the agility of their platform before having really a cloud provider, they use a single tenant design. So from that, I'm going to share 4 migration patterns. So the first one is lift and shift. The second is layered migration. After, there is service by service migration. And I would like to say mind the gap migration. So the first one, lift and shift migration, is this one. So lift and shift migration is when you rehost physically, your infrastructure. So you copy paste the infrastructure. So you can move. So it's a physical migration. You have your server, for example, in your own data center or in another provider, from another provider, and you want to move that in a new place. Let's say Scaleway Datacenter with your own physical server and all connection that you have. And so physical migration. So this is a lift and shift. So you can do that quickly. Of course, you need to do that as a project, but it's a lift and shift migration. The second migration is always the lift and shift, but it's without changing your design. You can move application to new hardware. So it can be something not physical. So it means that maybe you have, let's say, 100 servers in your racks, in your own data center, and you want to move these servers to new servers, but with the same design. So we can provide these servers from our catalog and do that with our teams. And you move directly your server, your application. So you reinstall as before on the new servers. So of course there is connections in the middle. So maybe you need to change IPs, public IPs, etc. But you can keep in mind that we have a load balancer available in Scaleway Elements, which is multi-cloud. So you can address your public IPs or public IP from Scaleway or from another provider. So it can be really useful in this plan to migrate public IPs on the other side. The second one is layered migration. So layered migration is when you do a migration on the stack by stack or layer per layer. So which is, for example, an application with a single tenant design on the left, and you want to regroup web application for multi-tenant and keep maybe app with a single tenant design. So you need to prepare an environment for the web shared, and after you migrate the different your customers to the new side, to the new service that you're going to provide on the web. And after you can do that on the app, maybe for a part or for all apps, to create something multi-tenant for this layered migration. Here, if you look at the database, which is really something important in the migration, and if people here have a big SaaS platform, database is also in the middle. Customer is in the middle, but database in the middle, of course, because there is all data. And you can get really big database, which can be a bit a monolith. And for layered migration, it's really important to improve stored procedure to access to your data and to do this migration easily. So this is something really important to keep in mind for this kind of migration. The third migration is service per service migration. Service per service migration is when you define a microservice to redesign your infrastructure, which is something I would like to say new, even if it's something used for several years. But if you look at the application, if you look at your SaaS platform, you provide different service, different features, and you can maybe split your application and migrate service by service, which is really something useful because you can scale maybe service B or service A without scaling the service C. So, for example, the billing can be a service. So the billing is not every day during the months. So you can scale the billing service at the beginning of the month, and after you unscale the platform for this service. For the monitoring, can be the same. Analytics, you can maybe use GPU and AI to optimize or to provide different dashboard for your customers, and that that is a service, but you don't use this service every hour, and maybe your customer don't use the service every hour, or they are not maybe connected every hour on your platform. And maybe for the mailing also, you can maybe move the mailing service with redundancy on service D, for example. And the last one, before speaking about database, going back here, the mind the gap migration. From my point of view, and regarding the history and all your platform, maybe it's not the best way to do a migration with these first patterns. And maybe it's really better to start from a blank page and create a new platform. So a new platform is something as a startup, so you can completely redesign, rediscuss with your customers to define what they want exactly, and maybe change apart the business model that you have until now, and move to the new world with a SaaS platform. It's something that Salesforce did several years ago, around 10 years ago, for part of their business, because it was not really possible to migrate completely the platform to the cloud with all history that they have. So I said about database. So database is critical, of course, and you have several things to think in parallel of the other steps for maybe more services. You need to think about scalability. How many tenants do you want to have on the same database? The storage volume, because maybe one tenant use less volume than the other. So maybe the load, you don't provide, maybe you can provide maybe different plans with different load. Do you want a tenant isolation for legal reasons, or maybe for the reasons? Pertinent cost, of course, because if there is the database with licenses, keep in mind the cost that you're going to spend in the database license, and development and operation complexity. Sometimes it's easier to regroup and to have a multi-tenancy DB, but if you want to build something reliable and with a microservice design, like here, you need maybe to move a part of the database associated to the service A. So maybe for the mailing, you don't want to use directly the monolith database, and maybe you can move a part of data associated to the mailing service in this microservice, and not carry on using a monolith, which is something good in several cases. So with these different patterns, just something important to keep in mind is the fact that there is not only one way to do this migration, and you can maybe do a lift and shift as a first step if you have an on-premise infrastructure now, then doing a service-by-service migration or layer migration, or mind the gap migration for a part or for a new business, and there is so many ways to do that, and maybe there is no modification to do at the end of the estimation. So so I say that there is different ways, but keep in mind also that you are going maybe to carry on providing new features. So you can do parallel migration. So you need to define a plan to execute several migration in parallel, and you need to carry on releasing your product regarding your migration plan. So maybe you define different new features for your platform for this year, and you are going to start the migration during summer. So include the new features in your plan, because maybe when you are going to do the microservice migration, you can include the new feature at the same time. It's a good opportunity to do that, but you need to anticipate that to do this migration. So if we look the pros and cons, lift and shift is for the pros is time to market is better for time to market. It's simple, and the support can be really useful. If you have your own servers and maybe without warranties after several years, the lift and shift that you are going to do to have new hardware with all warranties, for example, which is really useful regarding several issues that you can get from hard drive, for example. And cons, cost is not really perfect here because you don't redesign, so you are going to have cost and no optimization. The agility is not improved here, and you don't have more innovation. And if you want to scale, the lift and shift don't have really scaling, so you need to do other things to add scale. So you are going to do another migration or to redesign a part of your application to do that. The layer migration, so the pros is you can do that incrementally. So you can do that step by step, and you have quick successes. As I said, you need to have error high in your project, and it's important to have success for the motivation and maybe for your managers also. And the cons in the layer migration, it's the time to market, because you need more time to do this migration. And regarding the fish model that we discussed earlier, it's not good. The cost is not really improved, and you don't improve the manageability of your platform also. If you look the service by service migration, pros, you can really improve with more availability. In this case, you can really design something scalable, so you add scale in your design. You can do that incrementally also. And for the cons, the time to market is not so good, but you can have quick successes also for this migration. Data model migration is sometimes a bit difficult because, as I said, if you have a monolith and you want to do this migration and move the data in the microservice, it can be a bit difficult, and there is complexity here. And the minor gap, for me, the main pros is the fact that you can start from a blank page, which is something really useful in so many cases. And the cons is time to market, custom immigration, because if you start a new platform, you need to think about how I'm going to migrate my customer to the new platform, or maybe you are going to support two platforms, so the revenue at the end of the month won't be really the same. And at the conclusion, and before having a discussion and reply to your questions, think about your questions. Don't hesitate to share your question in the tab on the right of your screen. So for the conclusion, keep your customers in the middle. Keep that in the middle. It's so important. Your customers is where your UABs. Then create a project team. Don't stay alone. Otherwise, it can be so stressful and difficult for this migration. The onboarding process is the key. So write really all the workflow and all steps of your onboarding process. And before scaling, build, ask your customers, and repeat. Do that really agile. So don't start buying, let's say, 100 or one 100 or 1,000 servers, you don't need to have all this resource as a first step. So start with something simple, build, ask your customers, and repeat. And after, the scaling will be the third phase, as we discussed about the product. So even if it can be very quick, do that. Otherwise, it can be difficult to modify your platform. Sorry. And cloud is perfect to stay agile. Yeah, you can add several servers and stop the service after, and you pay per usage. So it's really useful. And keep it simple and reversible. So think multi-cloud, think reversibility with all technologies and all standards that you can find on the market. So we are Scaleway, and we offer all products to build your SaaS platform. So as you saw, there is the data center on the left, and we provide IaaS and PaaS solutions to build your SaaS platform. So that's the end of this presentation.